Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video we are going to be doing some layered nail stamping, so I really hope you all enjoy watching. I think I said in my previous video that I really want to practice more layered stamping, so I thought I would just share it on camera. Now, a while ago I bought these two plates from Clear Jelly Stamper. I haven't actually used this one, I don't think. I have used the previous one when I bought them, which was I think a year or two ago, but it was kind of like I didn't have lots of different colors to do layered stamping with, and a lot of the Clear Jelly Stamper images you do need a couple of colors to get a good design, if that makes sense. So finally I got some more stamping polishes, so I definitely thought it was the time to do some more layered stamping practice, and I loved how this design turned out. Although the layered stamping wasn't perfect, I was quite happy to say that it's not something I'd done in a while, and the images are quite intricate on these plates. Anyway, let's jump into doing the design. So I'm going to start off by taking Kiki London Vintage White. I love this color in the autumn for a base for any kind of nail art, but stamping especially, because I always prefer to have a off-white or a cream base, and this one's really nice for, like I said, for autumn. So I've done one coat of this, cured this in my LED lamp for 30 seconds, and then we're going to come in and do a second coat, and this color just gives off kind of like cozy cashmere jumper vibes. So I really loved how this looked once you pop down that second coat of color and you've got the full opacity. So I did this on all four nails, as I predominantly wanted this set to be about the stamping. So I thought having nice, plain, natural looking bases is going to make the stamping the main part of the design. Then I picked out 4 or 5, I think, colours from the recent Born Pretty collection that I got. So I did do a video on these stamping polishes, so I will leave it linked in the description box below, but I really loved how these colours all worked together in this collection. It's obviously aimed at autumn, but a lot of the colors you'll find you'll use all year round. So this particular stamping plate has these beautiful large floral images on there, and I quite liked these, and although they're not necessarily autumn flowers, I don't believe, I thought working with autumn colors the design still worked. So for the first layer, we're only going to be doing 2 layers of stamping, by the way. I'm not quite ready to push myself to the 3 or 4 layered image designs. So for the first layer I've gone for this beautiful orangey color, and as you can see I've just applied it exactly the same way you would do any kind of stamping. So I've applied a generous amount of stamping polish, scraped off the excess, quick flick of the wrist with my stamper, and that image has picked up beautifully. I'm then going to clean off my plate with a lint-free pad and some acetone, and then I'm going to come in and do my outlining with this gorgeous kind of like a orangey burgundy brown shade. Usually I would do all of my outlining in black, and that's one of the things I didn't really like when I didn't have lots of colors in my stamping collection, because I don't really feel as though this design would have worked as nice with black outlines. I think doing the brownie color second layer give it a bit more of an autumn feel. Now here, what I'm actually doing is I have the little card that come with the stamping plate, which shows how the image should look next to me, and I was just looking at that, trying to make sure that I was lining up this image as best as I could, and I was quite impressed with how this one went. You can see I've got a little bit of orange on the nail down towards the tip, so I am going to take a brush and just clean that off, just so that when we come in and add our next layer, or sorry, our next image, it's not going to affect the design. Now I have left this first nail and I think the third nail in real time, just so you could see how slowly I was working. So on to the next design, we are going to do these 2 layered leaves. So I went for this kind of khaki green color, and I really liked how this worked. Again, it's not bright like a normal leafy green, it's got a bit more of an autumn vibe to it. So we've applied a generous amount of stamping polish, scraped off the excess, and then as quickly as I can I'm trying to remove any excess image with my lint roller, just so I'm only placing down on the nail what I need, as then that does save doing a further cleanup. And then I'm going to place this one down, just going across the nail, always giving my stamper a little wriggle from side to side, just to make sure that that image transfers nicely. And then we're going to move on to applying that second layer. So it's always really important that between any kind of stamping, whether you're doing layered stamping or regular stamping, that you're giving your plate a good clean between images. So I'm always working with a little bit of acetone just to clean up the plate, and then we're going to stick with that brown on this layer, same as what we did for the outline on the previous one, and do the leaves. Now this one was a little bit tricky, so I'm just gonna remove the excess, same as before with my lint roller. You can do this kind of with anything, just to pick off the image that you don't want to use. Some people use their nail, some will use a scraper, and then I'm just doing my best to kind of line this up. But in my mind I was also trying to work quite quickly, so I felt a little bit under pressure, but I'm doing my best to get it lined up, and it lined up really beautifully at the top of the nail, sorry, the top of the image, which was what I was focusing on. But as you can see, as we move down the leaves, I was quite off with that bottom leaf. But we're going to move on the second. Now I'm going to do the very similar design, so we're going to do a different one of the flowers and then the leaves again, because I really wanted to practice getting the technique as good as I could. So again, we're starting off with that first layer of image, but I did change the orange to a more darker one just because I didn't want all the nails to look exactly the same. Now with these larger images, so the first layer, as you can see, they're quite full coverage. You want to make sure that you're applying a nice amount of stamping polish down for those, otherwise you can get gaps in your images. So I always like to apply a decent amount of stamping polish and then scrape off the excess. I know a lot of people probably use a lot less stamping polish than what I do, but this is how I've found it easiest. And then what I do love about the clear jelly stamper plates is they come with that card, so having that next to me did massively help when it come to working out the lining up. I have to say the flowers were pretty easy compared to the rest of the stamping that I did, so these lined up quite nicely. So obviously I'd say these are a little bit more beginner friendly, or maybe it was just me, but they were a little bit more beginner friendly than the leaves and the images I do on the next two nails. So again, taking those leaves, I think the second time around doing the leaves went a little bit better, so I'm going to apply them up the other end of the nail again, just because I didn't want the design to look exactly the same. So I've placed those down. This image didn't stamp perfectly. You can see we've got a few little gaps, but I kind of just liked how it looked, so I was working with it. Giving the plate a good clean off. Then we're going to take that same brown and just apply a generous amount. You can see I really do apply quite a lot of stamping polish. I don't know if that's just me, but this is what works for me. Then cleaning up with the lint roller, and then I'm going to do my best this time, because I knew last time that the bottom leaves didn't line up as neatly as what they could have done. I kind of tried to focus on those, and then what happened was the top leaves didn't line up perfectly. So it was a little off, but I think it kind of still looks pretty, so I didn't want to wipe it off and start again, because this was just practicing. Then for the next two nails, I decided to switch plates because I really loved this particular image on this stamping plate. Now I did cut out the first attempt I've did of this, not because of the layering, but because when I picked up the first image, I picked it up and I missed half of it off my stamper. So what I wanted to mention is always make sure when you're picking up your image to try and aim to pick it up on the center of your stamper. This makes it a lot easier when it comes to applying it onto the nail, because you're looking directly through your stamper, and if it's in the center of your stamper, it makes aiming everything up a lot easier. I loved this shade of stamping polish as well. It's kind of like a Merlot red shade. I thought it looked absolutely beautiful, and it was nice to tie in some other colors that were a lot different to the middle two nails in this design. So like I said, I knew that this one was going to be a bit of a tricky image. It's a little bit more intricate, so we're going to go in and do the second layer. Now I have got that card at the side of me, and for this design I did keep looking at it. I'm just propping it up here so I can make sure that I can clearly see it, and I was kind of aiming to line up that center image. So where you've got the gap in the first one, I know that the inner bit of that goes in that gap, so that was kind of like my point I was aiming for, to try and make everything line up nicely. Now we're going to do this design on both the nails, similar to what we did on the previous two nails, and it did go better on the second one. So it does go to show that practice makes perfect, or the fact that it's progression, not perfection, whichever saying you prefer. So here what I'm doing is I'm just focusing on that little center image and trying to fit that nicely into the gap there. And then I was just kind of hoping that everything would flow nicely. And it did go pretty well. It just was a little bit tricky to get lined up absolutely perfectly. You'll see some of the top areas overlap ever so slightly, and that's because I'd applied that image a little bit lower than what it needed to be. So I'm going to show you guys the card here so you can kind of compare and sort of get into mind what I'm trying to say. Then what I did decide to do on this nail, which is one thing I love about stamping, even if there's a layered image, you can add in other images. So I wanted this to fit the entire nail, like I said at the start, and it was a little bit small for the design, the nail length that I was working for. So what I'm going to do is pick up another one of the images in green, and we're just going to tap some of these little leafy parts around the edge of the nail. And I really loved doing this because it tied in the green from the other two nails as well. So I've picked up one image, but I'm just breaking it down into little pieces just to cover in some of those gaps so that it looks like a full cover image, even though it technically wasn't a full cover image. Again, it's what I love about nail art. There are no rules when it comes to nail art. Just have fun with it and create a design that you are happy with. So I really liked how this one turned out in the end. I thought it looked quite cute and it worked very well for autumn. So we're going to do the same design again, but I reversed the colours around just because I wanted to see what that would look like. And then I did also want to mention that I said in my previous YouTube video when I was talking about layered stamping, if anyone has any tips, share them in the comments below. And one of my subscribers, she shared a tip of doing your layering over a matte top coat. So to do your gel polish, then apply a matte top coat, then do your layered stamping as it stops the images from sliding. Now I did see that comment after I'd recorded this video, but I'm definitely going to try it in my next layered stamping video and see if it makes things a little bit easier for me. I can see the thinking behind it, because a lot of the time when I do my hand painted nail art, I do it over a matte top coat and I find that it goes a lot better. So I'm definitely going to give that a go. So again, I'm just showing you guys how this one lined up a little bit better. You can see that center image part that I was focusing on, I got it a little bit higher and that made everything line up nicely. But then I wanted to do the same again and add on some little green parts just around the edges of the nail. So I went for a different image, I think, this time, and we're just gonna literally break it down like we did last time, just stamp on little bits, and then whatever is left on our stamper, we're just going to stamp on the other areas. You do need to work quite quickly when you're doing this because your stamping polish dries quite quickly, which I'm sure you will know if you are familiar with stamping polish. If you are not familiar and you are new to stamping, I will leave my stamping playlist linked in the end of the video, and I have loads of stamping videos there. So this is what the nails looked like once we had finished all of that beautiful layered stamping. So all that's left to do is to come in and top coat. So I'm going to use the Kiki London no wipe Hemmer free top coat today, and I'm just going to apply a thin coat of this to all of the nails, and this went beautifully over the stamping. Sometimes certain top coats can pit or separate over stamping, so I tend to stick to my one Kiki London top coat that I normally use, but today I decided I would use this one and see how it goes over the top, and like I said, it went over beautifully. Then we're going to pop this into cure for 60 seconds, and that, guys, is the end of the video. So I really hope that I'm going to stick at it this time and practice layered stamping until I'm happy with it. So I hope you're happy to see more layered stamping videos in the future. If you have any stamping requests, nail video requests, whatever, then do pop them in the comments below and I'll be happy to give them a go. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, and if you haven't already hit that subscription button, I would absolutely love it if you did. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.